Welcome, everyone. Brother Ernie Paniccioli. Paniccioli. I look at your name and it doesn't, when I look at it and I say it, it doesn't register. So I like to just say Brother Ernie, but Paniccioli.
Same thing.
How are you?
I'm good, brother. I want to share
Good.
something with you and your audience. That's nothing happens by accident. Everything happens for a reason, and there's a bigger plan, and we have to be humble and follow that plan as best we can, or to be as good as we can and let the plan unfold. About an hour and a half ago, I got a phone call, and it said Dr. Dre. And I picked up the phone and I talked to him for an hour and a half. And I feel inspired down to my toes. I feel like I could fly. This brother is blind. He lost a foot and lost a leg. And he told me, Ernie, you can be my eyes because you have the camera. He said, and the nurses were coming in and he was talking to him as gently as you talk to a baby. He was so gentle and so kind. And the whole hour, he didn't talk about his handicap. He talked about how to use all of that as a lesson. I just came back from church. An hour and a half with him was like, so if you go to Brother Ernie, if you go to my website, if you go to my Facebook, if you go to anything, you'll see all over the internet, GoFundMe for Dr. Dre. And this is not Dr. Dre in California. This is Dr. Dre here in Long Island, who was part of Ed Lover and Dr. Dre. And I wish I could have taped the conversation. It's I won't even front. It's the most positive conversation I've ever had in my life.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I grew up on Dr. Dre, and even before MTV, he was in a group called Original Concept on Def Jam Records, and I used to play those 12 inches that, they had a lot of instrumentals, and they used to bump.
He told me about the times people would pull gats on him and try to take his stuff, and
wow.
Let's just say Dr. Dre handled himself, and he always did it with a sense of detachment and respect, so that the person that tried to jack him would not feel a certain way, but understand that he ain't having it, but also not disrespect the person with the gat or disrespect the person that's coming. And he gave me many examples of the violence and how he dealt with it in a respectful way. If a person has a gun or doesn't have a gun, they're still a human being, and they need to be spoken to with a certain respect. That way, whatever happens with that incident doesn't extend and spread. So I was listening to him, and I said, this brother got so much knowledge, so much wisdom, and we're blessed to have him. And, I've worked with him for 30 years, him and Ed, and they were always doing crazy stuff and make me laugh. But today might be one of the most inspiring days I've ever had. And it happened just a few minutes before we got on this phone call.
Wow. We have to get him on here because he's a critical piece of history. And just as a man, as a person, I've never actually met him, but people have been trying to get us together for a while now to really highlight what's going on with him health-wise. So I definitely will push for that now, definitely, and also to bring light.
We have people like Chuck D, people like Dr. Dre. We have people like Yasin Bey, and I don't know how well known it is about this other brother from Harlem called Dougie Fresh. And they're into hip hop and blah blah, but that's what they do.
Right.
It's the other part. It's like what KRS-One said, hip hop, rap is what we do. Hip hop is, and, Yasin Bey, Dougie Fresh, Dr. Dre, Chuck D, there are just certain people that go past our expectations or go past, the entertainment value or go past. I also yesterday was communicating with Salt from Salt and Pepper.
Okay.
And everybody knows her as Push It and, brother. Unless you know that sister. When I got off the phone, I had to go wipe my brow. I was like, this sister's deep.
Wow.
And she don't front, she's not on TV talking, oh, all righteous. That sister's deep. And her love and just her awareness.
Yeah. Well, first things first, or second things second. I want to get right. I want to just get ready. Plug the book. This is an incredible book, Hip Hop at the End of the World. We were supposed to talk about this, and then it seemed like the world started to end because COVID hit.
Wait. Let me tell you what Freddie Fox said. He called me the other day. He said, brother, I love you. I love your work. He said, and I got your book. I love your book. He said, but every time I look at the title, I get chills.
Right.
He said, I said, well, maybe I'm the Nostradamus. He says, you're the Lenstradamus, Lens. So I was like, I hope not, man.
What made you call it Hip Hop at the End of the World? And then it seemed like, hell broke loose right after this drop.
All right. First, if you know me, I'm on a different level. There's a brother who was in the FOI, in the Nation of Islam, who came to me many years ago, big brother. He came to me. He said, Brother Ernie. I said, yeah. I looked up at him. And I'm 6'2" or 6'1". He said, I had a dream about you. I said, you had a dream? He said, yeah. I said, you think you're Dr. King? And he looked at me and said, watch your mouth. So I shut up. Said, I had a dream you did a book, and it was called Who Shot You?
Right.
Said, brother, I've been trying to do a book. I give up. Writers are flaky. Nah, it ain't going to happen. He said, well, I had the dream, and that's the title of the book. A month later, I get a phone call. 2 months later, the book's underway. The book is called Who Shot You? 18 years pass. And the brother comes to me, and he said, Brother Ernie, I said, yes. He said, I had a dream. This time I didn't open my mouth.
Right.
Not as quick as I used to be. He said, and you did a book. And I wanted to say, man, that's impossible. It's been 18 years. He said, and the book is called Hip Hop at the End of the World. Sure enough, I get a phone call. Rizzoli brings me in. They ask me all these questions. They love my work. They want to do a book. But then they say, do you have a title for the book? And I said, well, yeah. And I told them the title, and they're all sitting there like this. So I said, well, that didn't go over well. And all of a sudden they smile and they start clapping. I said, but the title has a deeper meaning, and it had a deeper source. And I got the brother on the phone. I got him on speakerphone, and I didn't tell him anything other than that we're in a room, and some people want to know where they get the title. And he told them about the dream, so they knew it was legit. And that's where the title came from his brother William from Newark, formerly of the FOI, who had a dream both times, and they happened. He had a third dream I'm not going to share because that's kind of scary, but the first two manifested. And if you think about us and you think about the things we've done, it starts with an idea or a dream. The dream becomes an idea. The idea becomes a manifestation, and it happens. And that's how people manifest many things. And that's why you got to pray and sort out the things that come to you and stick with the positive things.
How did I mean, I've watched a few interviews of you talking, and you have been taking photos since the 70s. Is that early 70s too, right?
Yes.
First of all, now I it's almost mind blowing, but did you predate when, quote unquote hip hop started, say the Cool Herc party, or was it right after?
I got problems with the Cool Herc problem, the Cool Herc
Uh,
theory.
yeah.
A bunch of non-brothers went up to the Bronx. They documented. I see all the films. I read all the books, and they all seem to be quoting each other. But you're too young to remember. I'm 73, and long before Cool Herc or anything, there were house parties. You paid $5 to get in. You bring your own bottle, and you bring whatever else, and the parties lasted all weekend. And the people used that $5 to pay their rent. All right, and those parties were exciting, and they had their sample of DJs, and um, that was Brooklyn and Manhattan, and it was the poorest of the poor that couldn't afford um, things. So this whole thing with Cool Herc, I respect it, but if you went to Jamaica, I was in Jamaica in '67, and I remember seeing sound systems, huge sound systems, and big as Mack trucks with speakers, that can make your ears pop. I remember so many things. So I love Cool Herc. We got the Source 360 Lifetime Icon Award together. I love him. Uh, and I think he should be given every award and every financial. They should just, you talk about reparations, give Cool Herc reparations, give him $1 million. All right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
he was one of the founding lights. But, you have to go deep with any mythology people give you. You have to look deep into them and find the truth inside the mythology. There's usually, a deeper source to it. So again, I love Herc, and Cindy. Don't come looking for me. I love you, but I'm telling you,
Well,
I'm telling you how I see it.
well, as someone who is not a native New Yorker and younger, not old enough to speak it, but a student of the game, I do know about those folks in Brooklyn and
Rent Park.
even, yeah. There's a nice. They've slowed up a little bit, but they were going hard a few years ago. There's stories on All Hip Hop about it. We don't want to be disrespectful, so we just document it. But there's a contingency of folks that say they predate even the Zulu Nation. I mean, they really talk about it. But we don't want to fight or anything. I really just want to know how you became so involved and entrenched in the culture and so well respected. I mean, I know you can't pop your own collar or toot your own horn, but it's important. You're a native brother or an indigenous brother, and it's intriguing to me as well. I
Remember,
would say
remember what Biggie said. I'm from Brooklyn. We lived 8 blocks apart, decades apart, but 8 blocks apart. He lived on St. James. I lived on St. Mark's. Neither of us cared about saints, but a lot of people quote him and say, "Show love, it's the Brooklyn way." But the truth, that was nice. But the truth, he put in another lyric where he said that Brooklyn bullshit, I'm on it. So
right.
So that Brooklyn bullshit, when you from Brooklyn, you from Brooklyn. All right.
Yeah.
And I've been all over the world now. I've lectured, done everything, been here, done that. But there's never been anything like Brooklyn. And maybe, and I have to give it up, is that we have childhood memories and we have, but Brooklyn, I remember, you remember in the clubs, they used to yell Brooklyn, and everybody would,
yeah,
it was almost sacred. Of course, they didn't mention Howard Beach and all these other crazy places in Brooklyn where you didn't want to go, Red Hook, and they didn't talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But Brooklyn, I don't know if Brooklyn is that place, or if that's in my memory, or if
Mm-hmm.
we or a certain type of people have that. I don't know, but I'll just say this: Brooklyn's Brooklyn.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, look, I come from Delaware, right? And growing up, I used to think about where I wanted to live, and I said, man, Chuck D's from Long Island, that's kind of like Delaware. And then I said, who else? It was De La Soul, and even
EPMD, Rakim,
yeah. So I thought I was
Dr.
gonna go
Dre.
there, but yeah. I ended up moving straight to Brooklyn, and I said, yeah, I'm a different person than I was in the 80s. So by the 90s, by the end of the 90s, I said, nah, I'm going to Brooklyn. That's where, right in the hood.
But I go back to Brooklyn now. Brooklyn doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's different. It's way different.
Doesn't exist. When you have to pay $3,000 for a bedroom that's the size of a closet, and your neighbors, and you shop for food at Whole Food, and you eat yogurt and kale.
Yeah, it's a lot different. It's listen, my whole area is gentrified, and I couldn't believe it going back. We were in a food desert. I mean, we couldn't find good food. It was like Popeyes or Chinese, and now they have healthy options, grocery. A grocer on the street, everything. It's a whole different situation.
I love seeing these vegetarian women. They're so
right.
Does that have food? And then their dogs lick them in the mouth.
Bro, oh my goodness. Woo, that's a whole nother story, man.
I'm just telling what I see.
I see it.
I was in Brooklyn, and I'm walking down the street, minding my business, not bothering nobody, not thinking about nobody. I was in my own, and this woman walks by. She had on the expensive shoes and the dress, and so I said, let me walk away from her. I don't want her to, So she's got 2 dogs with her, so 2 puppies. I'm minding my business. Then I look over, and they weren't puppies. They were pigs. She had 2 pigs on a leash.
What? In Brooklyn? Oh, my goodness.
So, me, I said, excuse me, may I take a picture? She said, don't get me in the picture, but you can photograph my babies. Honest to God.
Right.
So I took some pictures, and she said they're very smart. So I'm just listening. I ain't talking to her. I said, really? She said, yeah, watch. She takes him off the leash. She says, go home. And, about 50 feet up is a doorman. And he opened the door, and they just walked in. She said, they're very smart, and they're very clean. They sleep in the bed with me. I said, miss, I got to go. I got a meeting. I looked at my watch. I didn't have a watch, but I looked. So.
Oh, yeah, it's different. It's very, very different. Well, I haven't been to Brooklyn in a long time. Last time I went, I haven't been anywhere. I've been to like events, but nothing, just going to things. But yeah, I can't do it anymore, unfortunately. Let me ask you, from a photography standpoint, did you have a special approach to taking pictures?
Yes.
I love this. I love the cover, man. It just looks like they are, I mean, I don't know. It's so pure almost,
Yeah, well, the thing is, they love me because the women felt safe because I wasn't never on no baby stuff. They knew I was married. They knew I had kids. They knew I wasn't on that baby stuff. And they knew I loved their energy. And when you love somebody's energy, they share with you. And they felt safe. And instead of putting a guy with a flamethrower or a bazooka or a shotgun on the cover, my editor said, let's not make it a sausage sandwich. He said, let's make it something. So we put those women on there. And, people say, well, you got to have a male and, so-and-so without a shirt or so-and-so, and this is 2020. This ain't 77 or 87 anymore. So I think it's about energy and respect. You approach people with energy. I've gone up to gangbangers, drug dealers, and had conversations with them. And, you know, the first thing
Right.
they do is stiffen up. Then they're looking at their boy, make sure he got his stuff on lock. And then you
Mm-hmm.
start talking. And before you go, they give you a hug. It's
Yeah.
about respect
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
understanding who we are.
Yeah.
And that we're all playing a part here and that we have to do it with that respect. This is a strange time. We need to remember the basics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We need to remember the basics. We need to go back to what your grandma taught you. Eat your vegetables,
Yeah.
clean your behind, and keep your mouth shut. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
it's not really, you know, I could get all esoteric and talk about the Quran and, you know, simple.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think, and I think even more, you know, kind of from a hip hop point of view, we have sort of lost that respect as well. You know, I think that far too many people are less prone to talk to you and more prone to try to cancel you if you have a difference of opinion. And I think that plays out a lot in hip hop. If you know, depends on what you call hip hop, but you know, but it's people regardless of what you call
Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't be talking to you. Hold on.
it. Yeah, I think we'll be all right. But yeah, no, I hear you though. What are your thoughts on what's going on? Do you believe it's a pandemic? Do you believe in what they say? That
I, I,
you know, a
I
lot of
have
folks.
I have no care at all about where it came from. I don't care if it's
Mhm,
man-made. I don't care if
mhm,
blue monkeys were having sex and made it like they said about AIDS. I don't care where it
mhm,
came from. What we have to do is protect ourselves. And, you
mhm,
know, with those people who I don't talk to and won't talk to, who believe
mhm,
that it's somehow diminishing their rights, I'll give you a list of
mhm.
options: seatbelts, motorcycle
Right.
helmets, parachutes,
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
when you're underwater using that oxygen tank. Okay,
mhm.
there's a whole bunch of things. Boiling your water, you know,
Right.
there's a whole bunch of things that all have the same purpose, which is not to
Right.
abridge your rights, but to protect you and to keep you alive. And I'll never
Yeah.
forget seeing the back in the 60s and 70s when seatbelts came out, and motorcycle people were forced to wear helmets. This one cat that was the leader of that was riding his motorcycle, fell off, and had 30 feet of asphalt crushed into his face, and he became one
Uh,
of the proponents of helmets.
right.
I ride a
Right.
bike, just a bicycle, and I wear a helmet,
Mm,
and
yeah.
nobody's taking away my freedom. That you got to understand. These are people who've lost touch with their spirit and their soul,
Mhm.
and they need to stop listening to that and start listening to the voice that's in your head, which is the creator.
Yeah.
And let me tell you
Yeah.
something positive. Would you like to hear something positive about the
Let's hear
foreign?
something positive.
Okay. I was going through my images because I got a lot of time. I ain't going nowhere. And I'm going
Yeah.
through my images. And in between some really flaky rap group, I find a picture and I blew it up. And it took 30 years for me to find the picture and I'd forgotten I had.
Oh, brother Bald. I mean, oh my God. Yeah, Baldwin. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Jeez.
And he looks sacred and he looks blessed.
Yes.
And it's one of my
Wow.
favorite pictures in the world.
What
And I
year was that?
1984.
84.
And we became
Mm.
friends because of that picture. But I had
Yeah.
forgotten I had taken this particular picture. And I'll tell you a funny story. We used to call each other and he invited me to dinner. I said, sure, where you want to meet? He said, at Sweetwater's. I said, really? Why? He said, my brother owns it. We can eat for free.
Oh man, that's amazing, man. I went to his grave because he's in the same burial as Malcolm and others. Paul Robeson is there, Jam Master Jay is there, and that's legendary. The closest I got to him in the context of our conversation was Gordon Parks. I had a chance encounter with Gordon Parks, and then later all hip hop would honor him with through the foundation. So
I'll tell you a funny Gordon Parks story. Leica cameras, which is like the Rolls Royce of cameras, called me and they wanted me to be in a gallery show, and it was called Saturday Night, Sunday Morning, which showed people drinking and acting fool on Saturday night, then they get all cleaned up for church on Sunday. So I said, that's great. So about 20 photographers are in it, and they sent me the brochure and invited me to the gallery. So I looked, and right next to my work is Gordon Parks. His work. And I meet him and we take pictures together, and he said, I like your work. I said, well, I love your work. And we're laughing. And I asked the people at Leica, I said, why'd you put my pictures with his? Did you see a similarity? He says, no, it's alphabetized. Your last name starts with PA. It starts with PA.
Right.
So that stuff keeps you humble because you realize, it wasn't because I was a great photographer. It's because alphabetical.
Right. Well, you are great, man. Let's just keep it real. What do you say distinguishes you from other photographers in hip hop? There's some notables. Johnny Nunez. I got a picture of you two. I was so hyped to capture that moment. There seemed to be so much love between you guys. What distinguishes you from, say, someone else? Like, anyone. Johnny's just the first one that comes to mind.
I'm not going to call no names, but if you go to my Facebook or my Instagram, there's a link to Cornell University. They have 21,000 of my images that you can view for free. You don't need a subscription or a password or a note from your mother. You just go there. It's 21,000 of my images. The images will speak for themselves. And I think that two of the things. Number one, as a kid, the only time I saw us was looking stupid or in handcuffs. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to make us look iconic and powerful and beautiful. And I learned something very early on from women that I dated. Every woman had something beautiful about her, either her hands, her feet, her teeth, her eyes, everyone. And then, I'm a male, hey, but everyone, even my children and men, everyone has something special about them. If you look at my work of people, even Biggie, I saw a gentleness in him. Other people saw a big fat guy with a loud mouth. I saw something gentle. So you got to look for the beauty in someone. And you got to look at, as I did, I was lucky early on with hip hop to see it as a revolutionary music. I was raised on Gil Scott-Heron, Miles Davis, and John Coltrane, Nina Simone, because in their language, even Marvin Gaye with What's Going On, which I play once a week, it was a power. And Chuck D came and put that in, and Yasin Bey put that in. KRS, You Must Learn. So that's what drew me to it. And I photograph with that mindset, with the mindset that there is a beauty, there's a power, there's an energy, there's a truth in these images and in the people who I'm taking images of. I'm not sure that other photographers don't just go for a paycheck or I won't mention somebody who's always smiling and drinking in all the pictures, and it's a game.
Right. Okay.
Who was it that said when I was a child, I acted like a child. When I was a young man, I acted, and now So I looked at it as something more important. And someone told me the other day, Brother Ernie, 200 years from now, when we're all gone, it's your images that they'll be looking at to reflect on that time. See, I'm too young to have been there documenting Hendrix and, OJs, and and before them it was Sinatra, but I did photograph Sinatra.
Okay.
One day a brother comes up to me. He said, "Brother Ernie," he said, "I got a mixtape for you. You're gonna love it. It's my idea of Frank Sinatra meets Biggie, and they're talking about women in one part. They're talking about drinking. And it was brilliantly done." And he handed me, and there's a picture, split screen, and there's a picture of Sinatra and a picture of Biggie. And I told him, I said, "Do you know I photographed both of these cats, and I've had conversations with both of them?" He said, "You didn't?" I said, "No. I still got the mixtape somewhere. It was dope because they sound almost the same in a different generation." But
yeah.
yeah. So I look at it.
And he used your picture by accident, or was it just?
He didn't use my picture. He found something and
Yeah.
used them. But in retrospect, if he had used my pictures, I'd have been happy. But
you sure you don't go? You sure you wouldn't have sued him? Because some of the you don't play. I know most photographers don't play. I know you don't play either.
My thing's a little bit different. I have somebody knock on your door at 3 a.m. and say, "Deliver it to Mr. Johnson." And most of the time, I don't have to do that. Most people ask around, "Oh, what's this cat Ernie?" It'd be best to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's always smiling. He said, "Yeah."
Right.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah.
Who do you enjoy? Who did you enjoy shooting? Like, if you could pick one, who did you enjoy shooting the most?
You want me to flip that on you?
Yeah.
Easy Mo B asked me once. He said, "Brother," he said, "you photographed everybody. Who would you like to shoot?" I said, "Man, my whole life I've wanted to shoot Miles Davis." He said, "I'm going to make that happen." And the last album Miles Davis did was with Easy Mo B. And he kept calling me, and I was busy. He kept calling. I kept calling him, and Miles didn't show up, and all kinds of stuff. And then one day, Miles passed. I met Coltrane, but I didn't have a camera. There are just certain people. Yes, I photographed Dali. I wanted to photograph Picasso. There are so many people. Well, I met Dali. I didn't photograph him. I was a kid. I was 13. There's so many people I wanted to shoot. And then there's so many people I have. And when you look at the Cornell archive, 21,000 images. And there's a lot of stuff on there, man. And do you remember a cat called Bernard Getz?
Of course. Yeah.
He was the subway gunman. He's the one that made that Charles Bronson image.
Death Wish.
Death Wish. I get a phone call from this woman who worked with me at the magazine. She said, "Ernie, what are you doing tomorrow?" I said, "Nothing. I'm free." She said, "Would you like to shoot Bernard Getz?" And I was like, "Because this cat's notorious for not." She said, "I'll give you $500 just to show up." I said, "Damn, $500 back then?" She said, "And if you get pictures, I'll give you another 500. So I get there. She lived in the building with him. She knew him. So I get there, I walk in, and something crawls up my leg, and I'm like, "What the?" And it was a ferret crawling up my pants leg.
Right.
And it's cool. I was like, but I was cool. Because I knew someone who had a ferret in there, And then another one jumped on my shoulder, and he's sitting there. He's looking at me.
Now, are you in his house at this point?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
You're just walking into his
house. Oh my goodness. Okay.
And he said, "Do you like ferrets?" I said, "I love them." I mean, what am I going to tell this cat? No, I want to come out. So he said, he started talking to me about feeding them. So we sit on the couch. He's telling me if you feed them different types of pellets or different types of food, different types of poop come out. He's talking to me for 1 hour, and I know this cat is batshit crazy. And I don't want to be the legendary photographer who was shot by Bernard Getz. So I'm listening. Anyway, I got $500 to be there. and he gives me a soda. I'm drinking the soda, and I'm like, and these things are crawling all over the place. And he has something besides ferrets. I forget what they're called. They're like little squirrels, So
Mm-hmm.
I know this cat is out to lunch. She ain't coming back, and I'm
Yeah.
listening. So out of nowhere, I said, "Would it be okay if I photographed them?" He said, "Sure." They love being photographed. So he puts one on one shoulder, puts one on the other shoulder, and he's posing, and I'm getting these pictures. And
Yeah.
I'm trying to leave. He wants to talk to me for another hour because he ain't talked to nobody in a long
Right.
time. And we didn't talk about the subway. We didn't talk about the trial.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about ferrets and ferret poop.
Right.
So I
Oh my
leave. I
goodness.
get downstairs and I'm like, oh God, what just happened? But then,
Yeah.
I put the photographs in a magazine, and it was one of them titty magazines. I forget the name of it, Genesis or one of them. But they paid me. I was like, damn,
Yeah.
this has to be one of the weird. But it's in my book. There's a picture Bernard gets with these rat type things on his shoulders in that book. There's a lot in that. There's a picture in
Yeah.
that book. I was talking to. I had just met Robert Kelly.
Okay. 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 R. Kelly.
Robert Kelly.
Right. Robert.
Robert. The people at Jive call him Robert. And we're talking, and we're on the stairs of the Apollo. The black stairway in the back is painted black.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking,
Yeah.
and he got his little group with him. I forget their name. And
Yeah.
I'm talking to him. I'm taking pictures. He got his hand in his pants, playing with himself.
What?
It's in the
R.
book.
Kelly.
It's in the book.
Oh man.
Look
I
at the
haven't
book.
read it all.
Look at the
Okay.
picture of R. Kelly in the book and see where his hand is, what he's doing.
Okay.
And this is the first time I met him, and I didn't know
Oh,
nothing about him.
right. Oh man. I know you have stories for
And
days.
then the first time I met Kanye,
uh,
I didn't know who he was. I'd never heard of him. But we had a little encounter, and he called his
uh-huh.
bodyguards, and the bodyguards come up to me, and they're like 9'6", and they grabbed me right in front of him, and they hugged me. Brother Ernie, how you doing? How you doing? I miss you. I haven't seen you. Haven't seen you at the mosque. And they're hugging me, and this cat's like,
Right. He probably had no idea. He probably had no idea. I've had a lot of experiences with Kanye. None have been positive. I hate to
I didn't know who he
admit.
was, but I got pictures
Yeah.
of him in the book where
Okay.
some school kids were there, and I asked them to get in the pictures, and they were, I got him as a human being.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's positive. Have you have you ever had an encounter where someone, maybe they didn't want to be photographed, or perhaps reluctant or difficult?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and if you know me, and if you know, I have 500,000 images,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and in my mind is the term "one monkey don't stop no show." I don't need
Right.
anybody. I don't,
Yeah.
they need me to sell their
Yeah.
product, whatever it is. They need us. The minute you're
Right.
not in the magazines or online or Instagram, you're forgotten.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I never had an instance where um, anyone did that and I cared. People, and
Mm-hmm.
I would ask people, you see, I ain't the cat that run up on you. I'll say, Mayor, take
Yeah.
your picture. And if the answer is no,
Yeah.
that's cool. But then
Yeah.
later when you find out who I am, don't come back and be,
Right.
so,
Right. Right.
but man, I can count on 2 or 3 fingers the times that I had any negative encounters.
Okay. How was I saw Pac is in the book. How was your experience with Tupac? He's someone who um, has such a wide range of personalities, if you will, that we've seen, some through just TV and media, and others have been personal.
He found out about me. He knew my political background. He knew
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that. So when I approached him, he knew. and he was always respectful. Plus, his bodyguards were from the Nation of Islam, and they wouldn't
Uh-huh.
let nobody even close to him with a camera or with anything else. And when he saw those brothers embrace me,
Yeah.
physically embrace me, brother Ernie, then he
Mm-hmm.
knew. And he, I just feel that he had so much going on and so many
Mm-hmm.
different. I think he's reflective of all of us. We all have different personalities. You know, there's the male
Yeah.
side, the macho side, the survival side,
Mm-hmm.
the childhood trauma side. There's so much going on, and you have to encounter each of them, deal with them, and
Yeah.
transcend them, and go on. And that's how you become uh, a higher being. And
Yeah.
when you're doing it in front of the cameras, and you only live 25 years,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
think. You know, look at
Yeah.
Malcolm when he was 25. Would he
Right.
be a hero? Would there be streets named after him? Would people idolize him? Or would
Mm-hmm.
they say he's just
Right.
a drug dealing jackass and a pimp? So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
you have to look and you have to understand that these cats had such a limited amount of time and did so much and
Mm-hmm.
explored all the different facets of their personality in that period of time.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. What as a witness, Baldwin famously calls some of us who are either photographers or journalists or whatever, calls us witnesses. How did you feel, kind of bearing witness to uh, Pac and Big and all of the other stuff that was going on at that time? Because I was a fan at that point in my life, and it was pretty scary. I'll even say it was scary. How did you feel
Me and Pac were
witnessing that?
cool, but me and Biggie had a special relationship.
Right.
And the first time I met Biggie, I went up to shake his hand. He told me, "Get the f- out of my face." And I was like, "What?" And Eric Sermon was there. I think Ice Cube or Ice T, one of them. And I put my bags down. You know, I always carry cameras. I said, "What you saying?" We the same size. I went up to him, and he looks at me. He give me that. I said, "What's that?" He said, "Puffy told me to be nice to you, but I can't listen to you." And he grabbed me, hugged me, and instantly we had a bond. And then these other cats told him who I was, and I think, and I don't want to get out of my lane, but I think I was one of the few, if only, people he trusted. And he told me before he went to California he was scared. And there was a
Mm,
time where we were talking, and he looked over, he saw somebody, and we're at Madison Square Garden. You know how long those halls. He ran,
mhm.
and
Wow.
I was like, and so much going on. I didn't think about it, and I'm not going to front Chuck. I cried when he died.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Nas did a song called, I forget the name, where he talked about Tupac and Biggie, and he said, I would have been down on my knees, and the cats would have had to get me up and tell me to move on. I think that's one of the deepest songs about that whole situation. I forget the name of the song.
Okay.
Where you remember the song where he said, uh, I would have been on my knees to pray, and I would have stayed there so long they would have had to tell me get up and move on. It's a
Yeah. Yeah.
beautiful song, and
I have to look it up. I don't recall it off top.
yeah, yeah, beautiful song. And but I spent 6 years in the military. I came from Brooklyn,
Yeah.
and you
Mm,
know, life was very cheap, and you know, you'd be hanging out with somebody. Next day, you find out they got shot or killed or sent away for 30
wow.
years. So you know, it's we just gotta appreciate life when we can, and that was a hard time. But the media had a lot to do with it. They were
Yeah.
hyping this thing about East Coast, West Coast, and I
Yeah.
was in Biggie's Jeep. I did a whole bunch of pictures of him in his Jeep, and it was a freezing cold night. He asked me to get in the car, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck this is. I'm not going to get in the car. And I
Hmm.
couldn't see, and he turned on the inside light. I saw it was him. So I get in, and I asked him, "What's all this shit about you and Pac, man? Every day I hear you and Pac, and Pac had just been killed." So he said,
Mm.
"Listen." He turned on his music and he was listening to Tupac. He said, "If I had lived, no one could touch us. Me and that
Yeah.
nigga, no one could have touched us. No one, and we would have been ruling this shit." And I
Yeah.
said, "We didn't have." He said, "That's all bullshit. That comes and goes.
Yeah.
People struggle
Right.
when you're at the top. And he talked to me for an hour.
Yeah.
And that's the picture of him in his Jeep with the Averex jacket, the red Averex. It's a famous shot, man. But
Yeah. Yeah.
um, there was levels and levels and levels of that. And the hip hop police, all the people, Suge and Puffy, and the money and this and that. There were layers of that stuff. And uh, I think Pac and Biggie were just pawns in the game.
Yeah. 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 Do you have a preferred era of hip hop that you liked shooting?
I like the beginning. I don't know. I liked it all. And if you look through my books, and if you go to Cornell University website,
Uh-huh.
you'll say, "Damn, that motherfucker been here forever,
Yeah.
forever."
Yeah.
Shit, he got
Right.
pictures of Moses. Look, let's talk about, no, for real. Andre Leroy Davis, who did the last word in the source,
Yeah, of course.
he
That's
knows
fair.
how long I've been here. Here, look, he did this picture of me as Moses. See,
Oh man, that's
so,
an honor.
so and it says Ernie
Yeah.
Paniccioli's The 10 Hip Hop Commandments. And it says, uh, what does it say? I can't even read. Think, feel, explore, document, live, create, honor, inspire, research, and respect.
Wow.
See,
That's
I go
dope.
all the way back to Moses. See,
Yeah, yeah. I see you have a special picture of Divine Sounds. Now, what is Divine Sounds? What how I saw that in an interview and I wasn't quite clear on what they play in your story.
look at the picture, and you'll see they're standing on a flatbed truck
Mm-hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
hood
Okay.
with some
Right.
dirty sneakers and dirty, and they were in the hood. And if you look at the bottom, you see the crowd.
Right.
And you remember that song, Two Speakers and a Microphone? And
Mm-hmm.
they had on dusty, dirty shoes. And, they
Yeah.
got $35 each, and they made jackets with their names on it. But to me, hip
Mm-hmm.
hop is a divine sound. The rap
Gotcha.
part of it can be a divine sound. When you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with people like the X Clan or Public Enemy or Yasin Bey or so many others that used hip hop as a way to uplift, educate, and unite us,
Yeah. Yeah.
then and I thought the picture was a beautiful intro because it
Yeah.
showed, later Puffy did $1 Million Hate Me Now videos with explosions and
Yeah.
crucifixions, and this took it back, and I just love it. And plus, I'm shooting from behind like that fly on the wall. But I
Yeah.
think the picture is perfect. The whole book is perfect. And it's
Yeah, it
not
is. It
because of
is.
my work, it's because I had an editor who, a young cat, a young Filipino cat, who for 4 years
Mm-hmm.
in college had a DJ radio station.
Okay.
So working with him, I was like, come on, man. I'd ask him a question. He'd know more about, he'd know who Divine Sound's manager was. He knew who their
Right.
girlfriend was. I was like, damn, when you're working with
Right.
people like that, you can't help but go into a meeting with a smile and come out. And other times, you got all these, they watched Wild Style, so they know everything. No,
Right.
Ian's a young cat. And, I was like, damn. And working with
Yeah.
him, every time I went to a meeting, I'd be like,
Right.
because you hanging out with people that know what they're doing. If you work
Yeah.
with an architect, you want to make sure the house ain't going to fall down.
Right.
If
Oh
you got
man.
a car mechanic, you want somebody that ain't going to, you go forward, the thing goes sideways. You got to be with.
Yeah.
So that book plus Rizzoli's my dream publishing house. And I ain't kissing no butt. They were my, When they called me, I was like, damn. Every photographer wants to do a book with Rizzoli because they don't play.
Right.
They put 250 pictures in this book. Plus, the book weighs 3.5 pounds. Plus, it's number 2 on Amazon.
Yeah.
And it's been out 18 months. Come on, man.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book, man. I mean, I don't even. And yeah, the one thing I did, Pete, you have pictures of the Ghetto Boys. You have West Coast down south. Oh, I didn't even know this was your picture. Hold up, look at this, yo. One of our interlopers, Kid Rock. This picture is Kid Rock and D Nice. I saw that, and I didn't know that was yours. I saw that on the internet.
Who's this brother?
No idea. That's KMD. MF Doom.
Do you know? People ask me, "Who's your favorite rapper?" I'm like, "That's a scary question," but MF Doom. And they said, "Why?" I said, "Because he goes places nobody would go," and he adds. And his mind, hello, governor, and he just, I'm like, I listen to his stuff and, I'm like, damn. And I knew him as a kid here. But it's not just grimy folks. Look.
Lauryn Hill. Yeah, man. That's a wonderful picture.
And
that's incredible.
That was not in the studio. That was us in the street. And wow. Look at this. This is something people don't know about. Little Kim looking like a flapper from the 1920s.
Mm-hmm. Nice. What else you got?
Wait. You know these cats on the bottom.
Diggable Planets.
Do you know that song, Where I'm From?
Yep.
That's one of the best songs ever made. How about this crew?
That's Arrested Development? Yeah, Arrested Development. Yeah.
Remember that song, Tennessee?
Yeah,
If you're in a club, somebody puts on Tennessee that never heard Tennessee before, they're gonna get up and dance. They're gonna lose their minds. How about this?
That's Goody Mob. Definitely Goody Mob.
Okay. Who's that looking through my window? Pow. Nobody now.
Yeah.
And here's
Cell Therapy.
Here's Guru and Primo in the street.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so classic.
Okay. This got me in a lot of trouble. This picture.
Why? Easy.
He's holding a PBA card, Police Benevolent Association.
Right.
Because I went to school with some kids, and they were cops that gave me them cards. Those were get out of jail free cards. And his song at that time was F the Police. So all the magazines were too scared to play it, to the pictures. Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
This is
that was your card.
Yeah, it was
not his card, by the way. Okay.
No. Ask me the scariest night in hip hop ever.
Oh man! So that was a real tiger?
No, it was 2 real tigers.
2 real tigers.
I'm sitting there, and they're doing "Hate Me Now," and we're in this funky place, and this woman comes in dirty, got like 6 inches of dirt on her nails and tattoos, and her hair's all, and she got these 2 things, and I'd never seen a tiger before. I seen him in magazines, a zoo, stuffed on a couch, the little. So Puffy's there with Nas, and they're arguing. I thought they were going to fight. They're arguing about something, and they had on fur coats like pimps.
Right.
And one of the tigers must have seen Puffy and said, "That's my cousin he's wearing." His paws. Now his paws about the size of a chair on Puffy's chest.
Right.
Now, at that point, I would have needed medication.
Right.
And I'm only like 10 feet away. And Puffy's arguing. He sees this thing. He pushes it off, and he keeps arguing. So I said, that guy got
Puffy push.
Yeah, but just
Puffy
push it off.
He
was wrapped up in the conversation. And I'd been with Puffy that day. I know he wasn't high. And all the time I was with Puffy, I never saw him get high. And he just, and you know, it's like you had a fly and you go,
wow.
well, I seen some tough cats with that. So I asked his bodyguard. His bodyguard was sitting next to me. I said, "What are you going to do if that tiger attacks Puff?" I said, "I don't know. Probably just watch." He said, "If I get eaten by a tiger, my mother's not even going to bury me. She's going to bury me in the backyard with the puppies." I was like, "For real?" He said, "No, I'll protect him against, you know, the men that's out there in the street." He said, "I ain't fighting no tiger. That you read the contract." He was like, he's like, "Nah, fucking tiger." You know?
So wait, you wouldn't take pictures of that, right?
Well, yeah, I took my camera out and I'm like, and I took a picture, and this guy comes up to me. He said, "Don't do that." I said, "Why?" He said, "They see the flash, they'll come after you." Took the flash off, covered the camera, put it in a bag, zipped it up, put it behind me, and sat there.
Right. Got it. Classic stories, man. We might have to get you to do some narration of some of these stories. These are, gems. One thing we want to do all hip hop is
6:00 in the morning on the Lower East Side,
right.
Salt and Pepper.
Where were they going?
They were doing Cousin Brucey, CBS, and they're I love them girls, man.
Styling.
How about this?
Salt and Pepper, Kid and Play.
Yeah.
I love those brothers.
Yeah, they were cursing me because we did that on the floor in a high school, and it was freezing cold. And they laying there, "Come on, Mo." And I was playing with my phone. I said, I made my camera. I said, "Wait, let me fix this light," and
right. Classic. Play's a good friend of mine. We're real cool. Yeah. Now you got BWA here. I think this is BWA right here. Am I right here?
BWP.
Yeah, BWP. My fault. Yeah. Isaac and
Isaac Hayes. Isaac Hayes bothers me because Isaac Hayes, I was always around him, and one night we got hired. He just had to be there, and I just had to take pictures. It was a wine tasting thing, and neither one of us drank, and he just had to be there. And we sat on a couch and we talked for like 2 hours. And this cat had made movies. He had made albums. He had done TV. He was a DJ, radio DJ. The cat was so friggin' humble. And I still can't believe that when I was living in Virginia in the 60s, they had pictures of him everywhere in the black community with the gold chains and the beautiful body and, the bald head. That was like the most iconic image in the world. And I never in 1,000 years would have thought that I would meet him and hang with him and that he would be so humble.
Yeah. Wow. So let's talk about your spiritual beliefs a little bit and your activism. For folks that know you, and this, by the way, we can definitely do this again at any point in time because it's just wonderful to hear you speak. But activism is a big part of who you are. Major. Oh, that's the big picture. Wow. Now this is, wow. Wow, that's crazy. I know that one. Yep, that's the famous one there. Yep, that's another one. Redman, I've seen that one. Now he's got tissue in his nose in that one.
Yeah, because he was smoking so much, his nose was bleeding, so I gave him some tissues. I said, "Why don't you stop smoking?" He said, "Why don't you just shut up and give me more tissues?"
Big Bobby and Whitney. And that's C's 30. Yep. Big
112.
112. We just interviewed them. Pac and Yo-Yo. Pac and Lisa. Used
Lisa
to
looks,
love Lisa. I had the biggest crush on her.
yeah, you and everybody else.
Right. 360 degrees.
I'll say something about 112. I don't like dissing nobody, but I'm going to say it. I never had anyone in my studio with more respect and more good home breeding than them. Them cats were just, they were like the most
Yeah.
polite people I ever ran into.
Now this was on the set of New Jack City.
No, that's neat.
Oh.
That's not Wesley and Ice-T. That's Nino Brown and some undercover cop.
Right. Nice. Wow. So you were on the set of the movie. Man.
If there's any place I haven't been, I don't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Darlene.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Zulu.
that's a
How
Zulu Nation.
about this? Where the hell?
See, people don't remember Ice-T, early Zulu Nation. You know, he was down from the first album that I, you know, for me at least. And then is that Al Sharp? Who's that in? Yeah, who's that in his?
Leonard Peltier. The brother
Oh, I'm
who's been
sorry.
in prison for 40 years and is
Right.
Malcolm X.
Mr. Bay and Q-Tip. Now, are these published or are these in your stash?
Stash.
Jam Master J. What did you think about the news we just heard about him and someone potentially being found?
Well,
Yeah, that was that.
It takes 18 years to find a killer, and then instead of just finding the killer and shutting your mouth, you go and throw dirt on the cat. He's already in the grave. He got family. He got kids. Shut up. You think he did something? He's beyond any law. He's beyond. So just shut your mouth, and you know, let the brother rest in peace.
Yeah, Mr. Diddy.
Yeah, he got a platinum, enough money to buy a house there around his neck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you know, you found his killers. God bless you. Thank you. Now shut up and let's keep it moving.
Yeah.
Okay, who's this?
That's from Hieroglyph. No, that's John Forte. I'm sorry, John Forte. Almost got me. He looked like one of the hieroglyphics at first, but almost. Are you trying? See, I'm pretty solid.
Okay, who was John Forte?
He's a rapper for down with Wyclef and the Fugees, but it's Carly Simon is his godmom. He's a genius, actually. He's very smart.
Yeah, well, for the correct answer would have been he's the fourth member of the Fugees.
Okay. Well, I was close.
You're very close. And yeah, Carly Simon made that phone call and got him out of a 20-year jam.
Yes, she did. Beautiful.
Oh man. Here, talk about beautiful.
Yeah, that's class. Regal. That's the word. Regal. Yeah, man. We missed. I don't like to say that, but yeah, we do miss that Kim.
This is the most obscene picture I've ever taken in my life.
Yeah, why do you say that?
Look at it. You tell me.
Well, it's a lot of me.
When I met her, she was black and you know, nappy haired and Brooklyn. Big earrings. And you know, they Hollywooded her in that picture.
Yeah, I see too much contour. And that's the video for Lauren. I see that. More Lauren. Now, is that a video?
Yeah.
Shoot. Okay.
But this ain't a video.
Nah.
You see, the reason I got them pictures is because she trusted me. We dug each other. We laughed together. And, you know, when you can't get them pictures unless they trust the photographer because there's something that opens up inside you when you're comfortable with somebody. Even doing this interview, it couldn't be done if we wasn't, who we are.
Right. Nice. Now that's not Photoshop. That's
lighting.
I don't know how you did that. Yeah, that's lighting.
And that's also love.
Yeah, right. Nice. I love seeing Kim as I don't know Kim, but I've met her a few times, interviewed her, and I always got the impression she's just super nice as a
the
truth
person. About her, in my humble opinion, is that she was just grateful for everything. And like all of us, she's been through her test and she's been through her pain. And unlike you and me, because we're men, people have just left a mark on her on so many levels, as they do so many of our women. And I don't know if she ever had a strong man that loved her. Starting with fathers, uncles, there's that's when I go to Canada and I speak to the different nations up there, which you call tribes. I would always begin it by saying, if any of you men are offended by what I'm going to say, please leave. You're sitting next to someone who gave you life and gives you life and sustains your life. And I know what, and I put that out there first. And it's not because I'm trying to win favor with women. It's that we need to understand. You can't understand who you are until you understand who you're with. You can't love yourself till you love what gave you birth. And I could go on. Now, you asked me a question earlier. Even at 73, my memory is good. You asked me about activism and spirituality. I think with anyone who's spiritual and anyone that's an activist, it's not something you do. It's like KRS One said, it's something we are. It's, it is us. And if I know something, I come from a time where the mathematics was simple. It was called each one teach one. If I don't know everything, if I know something, I share with you, you know something, I might know how to fish. You might know carpentry. So between us, we could build a house and, supply it with fish and feed our community. So it's just that way. Also, early on at 13, I was raised as a Christian. And then at 13, I discovered Buddhism, Zen Buddhism, which is not a conflict with Christianity or Islam or anything else. You could be a Muslim and study Zen Buddhism. You could be a Christian or a Catholic or a Baptist or a Protestant. Zen Buddhism is more like a way. And the things that I can compare it to are yoga and martial arts. If you study martial arts, it doesn't mean you're less of a Christian or less of a Muslim. It's that you learn how to use your body to protect yourself. And yoga, you learn how to do certain things to keep the flow and the energy going. So they're not exclusive. So I learned Zen Buddhism very early on. And that was like getting hit by lightning. I was like, oh my God. And, the streets, I think I was taught that everything that happens to you, good and bad, is a test. And a test is a test. You're supposed to learn from that test. You touch the radiator, it's hot. You don't touch it again. You do certain things and, you find out the action and the result of that action. So everything in life. Like I said, I just got off an 1.5-hour phone call with Dr. Dre. And I didn't know, I knew he was a beautiful cat, but I didn't know he was enlightened like that. That brother's, he's very Buddha-like. Imagine losing 2 limbs and your sight and still cracking jokes and still, and I wish now I had recorded the conversation, but then it wouldn't be as pure. He talked almost like Christ in parables. And he also talked about protecting his gear when he went to the different things as a DJ. So that contradiction wasn't a contradiction. It made absolute sense to me.
Nice. How you're also obvious. You're a Cree from the Cree Nation. Is that correct? How does that? I you know. By the way, my name is Creekmer, and people have told me that you got to be part of the Creek Nation. Now somehow I don't. I've stopped looking, but I was proud to think that maybe there was a connection there. But as far as you, how do you feel that has, you mentioned connecting with the nations up in Canada and things.
Well,
Does
as a kid in Brooklyn, I write about this. I talk about this. I'm a kid. I don't know what I look like. I don't know how. I don't know. I don't pay attention to that. I was busy doing whatever kids do, especially boys. And the girls seemed to like me, and the guys would call me Cochise or Geronimo, and all kinds of spick and all kinds of stuff. And it usually did not have a happy ending. And I wasn't very big. I'm not like I am now, and I wasn't trained. So you got a lot of ass whippings, and it brought me into the Black Nation through one day a bunch of white boys. It was summertime, and they were beating my ass. And I don't know how many there were, 5 or 6. They were beating my ass. They were stomping me. And these 2 brothers come by, and out of the corner of my eye, I said, "Oh, man." And at first, I thought they were just going to look and go by because there's 6 guys kicking my ass. They started beating the dog shit out of these boys. Stomping. Just like one, just stomping. And then one of them took a handkerchief and was wiping blood off me and holding me in his arms. And I couldn't have been no more than 10 or 11. And I said, "Why'd you help me?" He said, "Because you weren't doing nothing." And he said, "Would you like to join our gang?" I said, "What gang?" He said, "The Bishops." I said, "Yeah." So the next day I joined the Bishops, and never again in life did anybody put their hands on me.
Right.
And one of them went on, I'm not going to go too deep into this, and become very famous for the wrong reasons.
Right.
When I was homeless, he reached out to me and asked me if I wanted to be his bodyguard. And I said, "Why me?" He said, "Because I saved your life, and I know you would protect me." All these other men, I'm trying not to curse, they're here for a paycheck.
Right.
So at 13, and then when I left, I ended up in Greenwich Village, and I met Richie Havens, who went on. Both of us were homeless and broke ass, both from Brooklyn, and he went on to do 13 albums and become an international celebrity.
Right.
I went on to become part of the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. Life, again, man, everything is a lesson. Everything. And you got to embrace everything. A woman leaves you, your wife leaves you, takes the car and all the money. What do? Sit there and cry, cut your wrist, have a nervous breakdown, or you go and take a shower and say, "Where you at?"
Right.
I said, oh God, I can't see.
Keep tape. Okay.
Yeah, you just get up, and you know what I say, brother. It's you get up, dust yourself off, and start.
Yeah.
It's like when I was boxing, my trainer, he said, I said, "What do you do if you get knocked down?" He said, "What kind of question is that?" I said, "You get down." He said, the referee will get the guy away from you. You get up, dust yourself off, and you can either quit or fight. If you quit, you're a punk. You're not a punk because you got knocked down.
Yeah.
You're a punk because you didn't stand up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all of these things that I learned through martial arts, through gangs, through all this stuff, I put into life, into
Right.
my art.
Yeah.
I got books, movies. I'm in the Hip Hop Hall of Fame. I won the Big Apple Film Festival. There's a daytime Emmy on an interview they did with me at New Jersey Performing Arts Center. And I could go on. If you look over here at the over there, there's all those awards and
Yeah.
prestigious things. And I got eagle feathers from the Lakota tribe in South Dakota, which is the highest honor. All of that is nice. But unless you translate it into things that can help lift the people around you.
Yeah.
So everything that I learned, I try to put into my life and how I walk, how I talk, everything, and people now want to copy me, photographers. How'd you do that? So you took the camera, you put film in it, you look at the person, you take it. They said, no, I mean.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say something, and I hope I don't offend anybody, that everyone who's an artist, the more evolved you are as a person, spiritually, mentally, and physically, the more deeper your work will be. I'll call out Nas. I've been with Nas, I've seen him, and I had conversations with him. And shortly after I had a conversation with him about giving back and so on and so forth, he did a song which was 180 degrees out of hip hop, or out of rap, and 180 degrees into hip hop, which was I Know I Can.
Okay.
I know I can be what I want to be. And I was watching it and tears are coming down my eyes because it meant that I spoke to him, he listened, and he said, I had the conversation with Tupac, about cars and money and how do we give back? And then on his album, he said they got money for war and can't feed the poor. That's like an atomic bomb in your head. You can't forget that line. They got money for war and can't feed the poor. This cracker got money for fences and walls and unnamed thugs with rifles. And he wants to take away Social Security and health care. And KRS-One talking about when you walk with authority. Tell the negative people don't bother me. And he goes and makes something called HEAL, Human Education Against Lies.
Right. Yep. Incredible.
STV, Stop the Violence. He creates it. He had that manifestation. He had the idea. He manifested.
Yeah.
Chuck D. He got 500 different things he could call an album. We're black and we're proud and all this stuff. No, he named it, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back.
Yeah. Incredible.
Even if you never listened to the album, you look at the artwork, you look at the title, and you say, wow, it takes a nation of millions to hold us back. And then Khalid Muhammad on his album where he said, have you forgotten that once we were brought here, we were robbed of our name. We lost our religion, our culture, and our God. And by the way we act, many of us have even lost our minds. You couldn't put that in country music. You couldn't put that nowhere in the world except on a rap album. And yet the reverberations of it will go through the centuries.
Right.
That's where the more evolved you are as a human being, the more evolved your art's going to be. And I don't care what it is. Miles Davis, there's a documentary on him on Netflix. And you see he was such a complex, deep individual, and it came out in his music. His anger, his pain, his hurt, his fears, his insecurity, all came out in his music.
Yep, absolutely.
Gil Scott-Heron, first time I met him, I go to shake his hand, he pushed my hand aside and gives me a hug. And I almost started crying because that was,
Yeah. Oh, I love Gil Scott. In fact, my alias, not my alias, but my secret Instagram is @Pieces of a Man in honor of Gil Scott. So yeah, I love Gil Scott. In fact, Never got to meet him, man.
I met him, and
he was,
unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to spend enough time with him. And
yeah.
I love him. There's a brother. There's a Native American version of him called John Trudell, Trudell, and
Okay.
I was blessed to know both of them. But Gil, just before he passed, the next to last album he did, he directed at us in the hip hop world. Message to the Messengers. He said you can't have her on one song as your African queen, and the next song she's a joke, you know. And he said, let's talk about the old folks. You ain't got to hang out with them, just leave them alone.
Yeah.
And he just broke it all down. He says, I appreciate the respect you give me. I ain't trying to come at you with no disrespect. And then he breaks it all down. So
yeah,
he was aware of hip hop, and they called him the real godfather of hip hop because he's the one who, you know, wow.
Yeah. The Lost Poet, Last Poets, Gil Scott, even Muhammad Ali on the low, you know, very much forefather of hip hop, you know, directly.
But there was somebody else that you all don't know about who was there and had a profound influence on me. And his name was Big Brown. And he was a rapper before any of them, before anybody, before Kool Herc grew hair on his chin, he was out there. And if you go to YouTube, there's an album, and one of the songs is called the Mexicali Rose.
Okay.
And Big Brown was a legend. And on the South Bronx are all geeked out on this one or that one. Mexicali Rose. Down in Sonora, where the pot grows tall, where vultures fly the sky and rattlesnakes crawl, where scorpions crawl over dead man's bones.
Woo.
I'm on an interview. Okay, everything all right? Thank you. Where scorpions crawl over dead man's bones and coyotes yelp in blood-chilled tones. It was in this hot, dry desert waste where I first came face to face with Rosita Esposito, known as the Mexicali Rose, destined to become the queen of all hoes. She had jet black, ravenous hair that would make any woman endlessly stare. Her legs and all the rest were so way down fine. My man Smitty went berserk and screamed, she's mine. Took her at the table, sat down at the table, took out all his dough. He said, come here, baby, I want. Oh, man.
Man. All right.
Big Brown.
We're going to look up Big Brown.
And his life was more intricate than his poetry. In the Village, Bob Dylan wrote that he was the reason he got into poetry. And to me, he was like, whoa.
Right.
But my friend, you say you're not afraid of the day when you meet death? Oh, I see you're only 23 and still think yourself quite young. But oh man, he just goes on.
Yeah.
Like, Big Brown. And it was, I think Rudy Ray Moore or that other cat that was doing those albums that did an album with him. But he was
I know. Yeah. Now I know who you're talking about, because someone told me about that connection between him and Rudy Ray Moore, Dolomite. Yeah.
Well, Dolomite got his stuff from Big Brown.
Gotcha.
Eddie Murphy, I mean that if you go on the internet, there's a thing called Tubi, Tubi, which is a free service, streaming service. Yeah, you can see all the Rudy Ray Moore stuff. And you know, I love Eddie, but it was just like, it just looked like, you know, one more Dolomite movie. Yeah, it was
Eddie being, you know, dressing up.
But Big Brown preceded hip hop because he was doing it in the early 60s.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, hip hop's not, it didn't exist in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You know, you can see breakdancers in Africa, you know, so I mean,
brother,
Those.
brother, someone did a tape, and it showed all the b-boy moves and everything. It was 1927, and a young Sammy Davis Jr. and the Nicholas brothers, and all they just, you know, like Grandmaster Caz says all the time, hip hop didn't invent anything. We just reinvented everything. And
yeah,
you
right.
know, what I don't like about hip hop now or rap music now is that they're sampling Primo, they're sampling, you know, different people, whereas back then they would sample Etruscan music or Siamese music or music from Indonesia. You never knew what you're
Right.
going to hear. Now these artists
Right.
are sampling themselves. It's like incest. It's like sleeping with your sister. You know.
It's funny. I have a confession to make. So anytime I tweet or write about somebody that I like, I always think about you, because I'm like, man, I like this Rick Ross, but I know, I know, brother. I said, man, what's brother Ernie gonna say when I say something about Rick Ross?
But even Rick Ross is doing, you know, brother, I'm not God. I can't judge no other man. But when you have a KRS-One, when you have a Yasin Bey that does a song about H2O, when he talks about getting on a plane in first class, and, you know, they're like, you know, when you got people that are talking about human education against lies, when you got Melly Mel talking about, you know, the conditions in the world, when you got people, I mean, we always had Bismarcky, the vapors, you know, you can have fun, but the self-hate cannot be justified. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. The self-hate cannot be justified. You cannot be hip-hop and say slavery was a choice. Me slapping the taste out your mouth is a choice.
Right. Well, I'm not here to defend anyone. Like, you're not here to judge anyone.
I'm not knocking Rick Ross. I never met him. I did meet the real Rick Ross, and we talked about the fake real Ross, and we spent an hour together talking about that. I got pictures of him. So I met the real Rick Ross and his experiences and what made him Rick Ross and what made him do what he did in the economic.
Hold on. What's that noise?
I think it's on your side.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wow.
I talked to the real Rick Ross about the economics that brought about crack and the attempted assassination of the people, the genocide, and so on and so forth. So, you know, I'll go a little bit deeper on Rick Ross and go into the real Rick Ross. And then when you get into the real Rick Ross, you got to ask about the economics. Where did the crack come from? Where did the cocaine come from? Who brought it in? Why did they bring it in? Was there a greater plan? Was it what Gil Scott Heron called the King Arthur plan? You know, if you wanted to go down that road. So not only that, but in hip hop, they wanted to make sure that they counted the X Clan. They wanted to make sure that they counted Public Enemy. So all of a sudden, they're putting all these nickel and dime, self-hating, you know, every other word is 16 bars and 15 and a half of them echo the N-word. And, you know, you see, I just saw two videos, one by a sister from Colombia and the other one with Cardi B, and they were almost identical. And again, I watched them, and I saw a lot of hate, a lot of self-deprecation, a lot of, and I don't mind all that. You know, I'm not a Puritan, but is it girls watching it for guidance? And how you teaching young girls to deal with it by getting butt implants? You know, there's a whole bunch of things that are much deeper than if I'm offended by, you know, titties or what. Nah, I'm damn sure not. I love women and I love, you know, no, I'm not a Puritan. But are you teaching love or are you teaching self-hate? If you're teaching self-hate, why? Who's paying you to do it? Who is putting up the money that you're not even aware of?
Right. Yeah.
And everything that you do on this earth, everything you say, everyone has consequences.
Yeah.
So when you put out your art, what are the consequences?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm not a
There's a lot of
pure.
consequences.
Yeah, I've done everything in my life. I ain't
Mm-hmm.
gonna lie. I'm brother righteous. Nah,
Mm-hmm.
I've been there, done that. And you know me.
Right. Yeah. Facts. Well, brother Ernie, I'm going to say first and foremost, thank you for everything you've done. Uh, you've, we've been in the game for a couple decades now, and you've been in much longer. But being able to bear witness to people coming, people going, watching people's evolutions, people, changing, whatever. You've always been, what I would consider a stand-up individual, a man of a tremendous respect. And I want to make sure, what's that? Connecticut against
Connecticut,
violence.
Connecticut, uh, Connecticut against violence, and it says the 6th annual youth summit. They invited me up there because, again, the self-hatred and the killing is affecting generations
Yeah.
of young people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We've got to, like you alluded to, hip hop was one thing, and then all of a sudden it became something very different. And some of those what you would call positive artists, or even revolutionary artists, were sort of pushed aside. They still exist. I always tell people they're still there, but you have to look a lot harder to get to them. You know.
Brother,
Uh,
let me say something, and again, I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings or any young men to be butthurt, but
mhm.
you now have this, and I could go in here and tell you the radius of the sun. I could tell you the
Mhm.
distance between us and the planet Venus. I could tell you the approximate weight of the Earth. Okay, I could tell you quotations from Confucius. You have
Mhm.
incredible access to information that only the CIA or the libraries of
Mhm.
Alexandria had years ago, centuries ago.
Mhm.
And yet, with all that knowledge, all that information, our music is dumber than ever. Our leaders
Yeah.
are like plugs. I
Mhm.
don't mean plug one, plug two, and plug three. Those are my boys.
Right.
But they're dumb as cans of paint.
Yeah.
They can't even speak. The president of the United States can't even hold a sentence, can't even hold a train of thought that long.
Yeah.
We have
Mhm.
access to information and we believe BS. We believe
Yeah.
conspiracy theories that, about a pizzeria where people are sodomizing kids. I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
And I'm listening to all this, I'm seeing all this. We have access to information we never had before. And we have
Right.
access to music we never had before. We have
Yeah.
access to everything we never had before. But it's not going to call you up. You have to reach
Yeah.
out for it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
if you look at the 5th element, knowledge, wisdom, understanding,
Mhm.
which blankets the other 4 elements, I am now
Mhm.
called the Supreme Minister of Culture for the Universal Zulu Nation worldwide.
Nice.
And I earned it.
Salute. Yes, you did.
But this phone is not going to give you that information. You have to ask for it. You have to ask,
Right.
who was Sojourner Truth? Who was Harriet Tubman?
Mhm.
You have to ask, who was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? Who was Marcus Garvey and what did the United States do to him? And how is that relevant today?